other companies that I'm competing with, because I can tell when what they're doing to recruit my people, and it just helps me. I'd rather, what is it? Know the enemy.
That's the
Whatever that
Godfather
is.
thing.
Well, and you can choose what posts go to whom.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Yeah, and that's another thing I don't really
Keep
understand.
your
all
friends
that stuff.
close, your enemies close.
That's right.
That's the Godfather.
The second thing is, and this is something that Cheryl and I talked about before the deal, when I talk about, and we'll talk about this in the Maximize Open House too, but when you send out the emails, or you send out a direct mail piece, or whatever, it is so important not to wait for that to work for you, but to then personally contact people. Example, when an agent, is it Awana, is that how you pronounce it? Awana's coming to the company, right, and she's applied for her license, and you know, these days with Virginia Real Estate Board, it may take till Christ comes back to get those things. I'm just so frustrated with that. But anyway, when that comes, you should already have sat down and said to yourself, who do I know? That when I call them up and say, hey, it's Awana, they don't go who. So it could be whoever, friends, family, people you meet at the pool, I don't care. And as soon as that license comes back, your announcement should go out. All right, first thing that happens, they're in the mail the day that you're active. 3 days later, you make a commitment that for the next 2 weeks, you're going to call every one of those people until you've talked to every one of them personally. Don't let that announcement do the deal. It's, hey, this is Awana, I hope you got my announcement. Let me tell you how excited I am about the fact that I've gotten into real estate. I'm going to work for the great company, McLean Associates, and I want to help you. Okay? So just remember that as we talk about this, that you can mail out, you can do all sorts of stuff, you can hand deliver, you can do whatever, but if there's not personal follow-up, if you're not making a connection, the return is so diminished. I have a friend, Pat Flynn, who's in the business. Some of you know Pat out in the Reston area. And he owns Tamarack now, down there along, what is that, 100 Mill Road? Lawyers, 100 Mill Road. Sunrise Valley turns into 100 Mill. Anyway, he started mailing stuff in there, and he did it, and he came in and said, I'm not getting any action. And I said, well, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm mailing this stuff out. I'm sending all the stuff you're telling me to send. I said, well, have you gone and knocked on the doors yet? And introduced yourself to the people? Oh, no, I haven't done that. Well, why don't you give that a try? Just go. You've done enough. Just go and say, you're not asking them, you know, you're not asking to come in for lunch. You know, you're knocking on the door and you're saying, hi, I'm Pat Flynn. I've been mailing some stuff to you. I just wanted to personally introduce myself and let you know if there's anything I can do to help you, I'd love to. And then get back to the office and write a personal note to them. So 2 days later, they get a note from you saying, it was really nice meeting you, blah, blah. I've been in the business long enough. How many of you know Kurt Kuykendall? Kurt Kuykendall, he was a RE/MAX agent back in the day, 83. We lived in the same neighborhood. We looked a lot alike. He was a professional soccer player. I was not. He had kids. I did. And we'd go, and people would say, hey, Kurt, how you doing? I go, hey, how you doing? I just would say hello, because people just mistake it. Anyway, he was very successful. This was back when Stratton Woods in Reston, I remember in 1984, I sold the first house over $100,000. That was the top.
Big deal.
It was a big deal. We got into 6 figures. Anyway, Kurt was really successful because he knocked on doors, and he had it down to a fact that he knew that if he knocked on 100 doors, he was going to get 3 appointments, and out of those 3 appointments, he was going to get a listing, and out of listing it was out. And he back then, you can't do this now, never could do this now, he had a backpack, and it had coffee on one side of it and tea on the other. And he'd knock on the door and say, hi, I'm Kurt Kuykendall, I just wanted to share a cup of coffee with you, or would you rather have tea? And he, that was the craziest thing you ever
I
seen.
didn't have one of those hats. I used to, the Germans wear with the.
And then he was the first person I knew. He delivered pumpkins to every house. He was the first person that. This was, a lot of years. But the point being is.
That's what we did.
That's right.
But the
point being is, it was about the personal contact. And so Pat, the point of all the story is that now you go to look at Tamarack, and Pat probably gets 50% of the listings in there, because everybody knows him. And he's cared for him, he's done a good job, he built the rapport, he gained the credibility, he showed him the care, he just owns it now. Whereas before, he wasn't getting anything because nobody knew him. They just were getting this cold piece of mail. The crazy thing is that once you send a piece of mail into somebody, right, and then follow it up, and write them a note, the next time they get that just piece of mail, it's not just mail, it's not just a whatever, it's from Pat, or it's from whoever. Because they know you, and they will look at it for just a little bit longer. Okay, So, how to maximize an open house in 30 minutes. All right? Ask yourself, why are you holding the open house? That's the first question you should be asking yourself. If you can't answer that question, don't hold it open. All right? How many of you hold open houses with this strategy? I got to decide to have an open house. I got to make sure I get it in the newspaper. I need to get my signs up, and then I'm going to pray somebody comes. All right? Now, in your marketplace, that's probably not the case because you probably get a lot more activity. But in our marketplace, it's not as crazy as yours. All right? But the point being is there are a lot of agents out there that either do that, they have a listing, and the seller says, when are you going to hold it open? Oh gosh, I forgot, I told you, I promised I did an open house. And so then it's scrambling to get in the Washington Post, and then scrambling to get the signs up, and you haven't done anything other than just to hold the open house. Okay? Why are you holding the open house? Are you holding it open because it's a house that you really think you can generate some buyers? Are you holding the open house because you really think that in this particular marketplace, the open house could sell it? Are you holding the open house because you're trying to establish yourself in that geographic area? Are you holding that house open because you're establishing yourself as the expert in a certain price range? Answering the question makes all the difference in the world as to whether you hold it open. Now, I'm not going to step on any, I'm probably going to step on any toes. I'm going to use Awana again as an example. Awana, you're brand new to the company, and you've got a bunch of people here, fine people, who all have listings, right? And all of them don't want to hold their houses open. They've got too many, or they don't want to hold open houses on Sundays, so they're going to go, Awana, a great way to get going in the business is to hold open houses. And it's true. But what's really true about it is holding the right houses open. So what you want to do from the very beginning is you want to go out and you want to preview as many houses as you can and decide which ones that you like, which ones that you can really get excited about. They're in the price range that's selling, and then you go to Pat and say, Pat, you've got a listing over on, Falstaff Road. The next time you hold it open, can I hold it open? You need to be in control of what you're holding open versus letting other people tell you this is where you want to be. All right? That's not to say you shouldn't hold other people's houses, but do the ones that you want. And one of the first things I would do as a new agent is I'd get with somebody who really knows, or I'd learn the MLS system, and I would see what price range is selling. When a house goes on the market, what does it sell? And I'd find houses that are that price and hold them open, because those are the people that are coming in there. So anyway, why are you holding open houses? Preliminary preparation. You choose an open house at least a week before. I think more like 2. From a standpoint of how you're going to maximize that open house. And you're going to mail out flyers. You're going to mail out cards, letting people know that you're having that open house. Now, here's the thing. I know things are selling fast, okay? So you've got to put yourself in a position to do it so that it actually works for you. But here's the kind of crazy thing about this. If you do everything I'm going to tell you to do, even if you don't get to hold the open house because it's sold, it's okay because you've used this open house to prospect for new business for 2 weeks. Okay? But mailing out the flyers or hand delivering the flyers, mailing out the cards. When I was farming in Stratton Woods, I didn't have a dime. I mean, I'd left a salary job, had 2 kids, I didn't have any benefits, I just didn't have any money, so I did everything. I just walked everything. I'd print the stuff on the copier, and then I'd walk in, and some mornings I'd even get up early enough and put it in like an insert in the Washington Post. I'd go to everybody's newspaper spot, and in front of the sports section, I would put my little flyer. So they thought, oh gosh, this guy's inserting in the Washington Post kind of thing. It was great though because I used it for exercise as well as getting the stuff out. So one day I'm walking around the neighborhood and these kids are there and they come up to me and Mr. Guthrie. And I said, yeah. I said, we need to ask you a question. Back then, there were these $1 million sales clubs and all that kind of stuff. And on my little flyer it said Michael Guthrie, member of the NVAR $1 Million Sales Club or whatever. And these kids come up and Mr. Guthrie says, yeah, we got a question for you. I said, okay, what's that? He said, if you're a millionaire, why are you walking these flyers around the neighborhood? These are like 12-year-old kids. Why are you walking these? And thankfully, I'm a little bit quick on my feet. I looked at him and said, how do you think I made my $1 million? And I walked away. And the kid went over to his friend, how do you think he made $1 million? Kind of thing. But I just walked everything because it just worked. But the point is getting the stuff out. And if you're thinking about what I'm saying as far as why you're holding it open, if you're trying to generate around that listing more listings, then you're going to send a flyer out to that neighborhood that's going to communicate something different than something else. And one of the things that I think is a great thing to do is to create a nosy neighbor hour. So if you're going to hold your house open from 1 to 4, or what do you do in here?
1 to 4.
1 to 4? All right, so one suggestion, here's a real quick suggestion, this will be worth you coming today. Hold them from 2 to 5. Because if you do them 2 to 5, you're the last person open. And if people are really serious about buying, they're going to keep yours till last. So you're going to get to see them last, you're going to impress them, and you're going to have the opportunity to work with them. Because they're not going to stop at 4. If they're serious, they're going to go to that 1 to 5. And I say to my agents all the time, always be the last one out there. Always be the last one out. But the other thing is, if you're going to do that, do to 2 to 5, do a nosy neighbor hour from 1 to 2. And you send a flyer into the neighborhood, and you say, I'm holding this house open. It's got an amazing finished basement. The deck on the back is to die for. You got to come see it. Come between 1 and 2. I'm going to serve refreshments. It's just for the neighbors. It's only for you. Now, the way I learned this is when I came to Reston back in 1983, I needed to buy some clothes, and so I bought some clothes at Lord & Taylor, Fair Oaks. And, or maybe it was Hex. Anyway, it was one of those department stores at Fair Oaks. Bought some, clothes, and a couple months later, I get this thing in the mail that says, sale for our special customers. Between 8 and 10, you can come and get extra savings because you're a special customer. And then from 10 on, the normal people, the riffraff will be invited in, right? Kind of thing. So I thought, this is awesome. So I went over there at 8 o'clock, and the line was around the building of all their special customers. And the whole point was anybody bought anything in there, got on a database, and they sent it out as a promotion. And I thought, what a great idea. How can I use this in real estate? And so that's what I did, is I created this nosy neighbor hour. This is only for you. Come meet your neighbors. Refreshments will be served. But the whole point was for me to be able to personally meet the folks around there and to say, look, if you know somebody who's interested in moving to the neighborhood, wouldn't you like to pick your neighbor, that kind of thing. But more importantly than that, it showed that I was doing something different than other realtors. So when they got ready to sell their house, they said, well, gosh, I want to make sure I get that nosy neighbor hour thing. And Michael's doing this and Michael's doing that I don't see anybody else doing. So that nosy neighbor hour is great. The other piece of that, I think I may have, I did add it in here. Piggyback on a Tuesday broker open. Do you guys still do those up here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So do a flyer to real estate companies or real estate folks, whether it's email or whatever, that says, broker open on Tuesday, open house on Sunday, or Sunday, broker open on Tuesday. Why not send that to the neighbors too? Now, who cares who's eating your food? I mean, if your neighbors come to eat the food, that's great. And you're going to be there anyway. Why wouldn't you invite them on Tuesday? Nobody invites the neighbors on Tuesday. There's a thing that you're doing that's differentiating yourself from others. Plus, if you've got a title company or a lender or something paying for it, then that makes you pay.
Just a quick question. The flyers and everything, are you suggesting doing those even if it's not your listing?
Well, I'm getting to that. So if you look up here, it says if it's your listing, you might want to give flyers out to other agents as well. So if it's not your listing, you need to ask permission. What I'd like to do is I'd like to kind of own this house for the afternoon. Do you mind if I market it out to get other people? And most of the agents, unless it's in their geographic farm area, are going to say, yeah, that's fine. If it's in the geographic farm area, I wouldn't have let you hold my house open. But the point being is, the flyer might go to the next neighborhood over, which is a move up. So I'm going to send a flyer over there, even though it's not my listing. Hey, I'm holding this house open, and why don't you come? So I always think about if it's a $600,000 house, I'm going to look for a $400,000 neighborhood, and send it in saying, this may be your next neighborhood. Why don't you come over and see it? And if that happens, I get a listing over here as well. Again, if you're thinking about geographic farming, that's another reason. Asking that question, am I doing this geographically? I may be trying to establish myself in a neighborhood that's $400,000 average sales price. And so what I do is I hold open houses over here at 600 to show that I've got properties that they're going to be interested in moving up to. Or vice versa, trying to establish myself in a $400,000 neighborhood. I may go down to 250 or 300 and try to get them to move up, so I get this sort of cycle going because it's all about the geographic neighborhood. It's not about anything else other than the fact I'm establishing myself in that place. After you do the cards, and that's why I think 10 days to 2 weeks, if you get the chance, especially 10, 15 houses around the listing, go knock on the door. I'm Michael Guthrie. I'm with McLean Associates. I'm holding a house open down the street. I just wanted to personally, I hope you got my flyer, and I just wanted to personally introduce you to my little nosy neighborhood. I'd love for you to come, and if you know of anybody who's thinking about moving to the neighborhood, I'd love for you to tell them that the house is going to be open on Sunday from 2 to 5. Okay, well, thank you very much. And here's another flyer in case you lost the other one. And depending on the kind of conversation you have, you might want to note it down and write them a note. Hey, really appreciate you opening the door for me. It was great to meet you. Hope to see you Sunday. Whatever the case may be. So file cards with a phone call or visit. Write an ad with an open house particularly in mind. I think this is really important. You just, I don't know how you guys do it here, but in our situation, somebody on the staff calls and says, hey, we got this house open on Sunday, we don't have an ad for it. And we just kind of jot something down just to get it there, and it doesn't communicate. Writing an ad for just a blind ad where you want somebody to call you back is different than an open house. You want to write an ad that really paints a picture of the house that causes somebody to say, hey honey, why don't we go try to see this? So write an ad that you would, if you read it, you would say, gosh, I'd really like to go see that open house. And again, going back to your question before, ask the agent, do you mind if I write an ad for you? I'll run it by you to make sure it's okay with you and it's the right amount of words so it takes care of pricing and that kind of thing. But do you mind if I try to write something up that I think I would like to, I've seen the house and I want to describe it as best I can. Sure, these are things that you're all doing, but add open house on the internet, realtor.com, homes.com, point2agent.com, NVAR, Craigslist, your company you're on, wherever. One thing, and go back to Facebook for a minute, and I don't see this very often, is get your sellers involved. Let your sellers post on their page. Hey, my agent is holding my house open on Sunday, blah, blah. Do you know anybody that wants to live in, Mossy Creek? Whatever. It's not you anymore. You're getting them to promote it out there to their people, and their 285 people is different than your 285 people. And so, hey, let's remember that we're holding this house open on Sunday. I'd really appreciate it on Thursday or Friday if you would put something out there, and then maybe do another reminder on Sunday. Hey, don't forget my house is open this weekend. Hopefully, you've got somebody who might be interested in coming. I don't know if you have this at McInerney, but we have email flyers that templated that the agents can put together and then email out. I've used that. I mean, it's just so easy to use, and now here's where I really begin to differentiate myself as it relates to open houses. And you'll see in a minute, but you can use open houses to be your focus on what you're doing to generate new business. You can use once a month or twice a month an open house to just engage yourself in activities that are going to generate new business. And something we were talking about earlier, you're going to hold an open house. I really, really think you should go out and preview the houses around that house that you think are the competition. Because when those people come into your house and they don't like it, it's a split level, it's a split foyer, or they came on the sign and it's more than they thought, or they want to spend more than this house is, or whatever, instead of just saying, that's great, could I get your information, I'll get back to you on what's out there, say, oh, well, you don't like this house, well, what are you looking for? Well, there's a house right around the corner I just saw the other day, and it's not being held open today, but I'll tell you where it is. You can drive by it, and if you like it, come back by here, let me know, and we can go look at it at 5 o'clock. I'll set up an appointment, and we can go look at it at 5 o'clock. If you're not previewing and knowing that, you can't do that, and you can build the rapport, but you can't gain the credibility. You're saying, I don't know my marketplace. The other thing, again, generating new business, is when you preview, and this is something that a lot of people don't think about, you spend X amount of hours a week previewing. What I encourage my agents to do when they preview, and some of them do it together, a couple people do it, but they go and they preview the house, and they're doing it for the open house around the corner, and then they go knock on the door to the left, they knock on the door to the right, and they knock on the door across the street. Hi, I'm Michael Guthrie. I'm with McLean Associates. I'm going to be holding the house open around the corner. I just previewed your neighbor's house. I just want to introduce myself and say, if you know anybody who's thinking about moving in the neighborhood, I'd love for you to let them know about the open house. Here's a flyer on it. And by the way, how do you like it here? Is it great? How do you like the neighborhood? Oh, we really like it. How long you live here? Oh, we've only been here a few months. Oh, really? So you just bought? No, we're renting. There's a whole another person that you've met that you would have never met. Oh, you're renting. Great. When does your lease expire? Well, are you think you're going to stay here? Well, we're not sure. Well, do you mind if I put you on my mailing list? I'd love to help you. You know, think about if you're going to rent again or if you want to buy, whatever. And it's just the reason is that you previewed the house. The reason is because you hold an open house. But the real reason is you've now expanded your network by having a reason for knocking on those doors. And it's not a cold call. And you're handing them stuff. And if you know somebody who's thinking about buying, just a thought. Here's the other crazy thing. Now, I don't know, in our marketplace, I don't know if they do this here or not. They didn't used to. But in our marketplace, in the newspaper, it says, listed by Charlotte O'Connor, right? Hosting agent, John Wolford. Right? So I know that Charlotte's not at that open house. I know John is. So what I recommend is you look in the paper, Washington Post or wherever you find your open houses, and on Sunday morning you sit down and you create your plan. And the plan is, what else is being held open around my listing? And then you create your own little package of houses that are being held open, along with a couple, 3 that aren't being held open, right? And you have these packages at your open house. And now it's so nice because you can go on the site and do your search and then click map, and it posts them all, right? Posts them all in there. So you've got your cover page. Here are all the properties, and behind it are all the listings. I'm sure you're not just looking at my house today, right? Right. Okay, what other house are you looking for? Well, we're thinking about, oh, well, here is a package of all the things that are held open, blah, blah. And you've now given them an item of value that nobody else has given them. 2, you showed them that you are a professional and you're prepared, right? And 3 is you then call those agents, say, see, you're holding your open house today. Would you mind if I send people your way? And if I do, will you honor me as their agent? Yeah, that'd be great. I'll do the same thing for you. If you have people, and please send them my way at honor. But they're not going to have a package. They're just going to know that you have that house open. So there's one person sending them back, whereas you've got 8, 9, 10 people, and you've given them their little tour. Oh wow, that's pretty cool. And it's got your name on every page. All right. So along with that, you now have a reason to follow up with them. Do you mind if I give you a call later tonight to see if there was anything that you might be interested in? All right? So 1, you've got a sign-up sheet that says, sign up for a $50 gift certificate, which we've already talked about. You've got a much better chance of them signing up for that with a gift certificate of some sort. 2, you've now given them an item of value. And you're saying, do you mind if I call to see if there was anything that you saw that I might be able to help you with? Instead of, the way I look at open houses, the way I finally kind of got it in my brain about open houses is somebody drove in the driveway of a $300,000 house. And I close my eyes and I see them getting out of their car with $9,000 in a paper bag. All right? And they're walking into my house, and my job is to get that $9,000. Whether it's here or someplace else. My job is not to let them walk back to their car with the $9,000 with me not knowing how to call them again to try to figure out how to get the $9,000 tomorrow. And I don't mean to be smart about it, but that's what got my attention. Same thing with floor duty. If you are not prepared and somebody calls in on a $1.2 million property, that's $36,000. PE manager even knows that's $36,000 in gross commission. All right, okay. And you've lost them, you don't have a name, you don't have a number, if you don't know what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, and you've hopefully seen the property, I mean, that's where the previewing comes in. It just allows you to talk about the property in such a different way and establish your credibility. But anyway, so you're going to call the other agents, and you're going to work all that out, then you're going to find the MLS numbers, you're going to print the handouts, you're going to plot the houses on the map. If your map doesn't do it, find a search engine that plots the houses that you've chosen. And then have current financial information available. George Mason, is that right? Yeah. George Mason, I know, would love to help you with that. All right. Going back to that whole FSBO thing again, use George Mason if you're going to follow FSBO. That's a great thing to provide to a for sale by owner. The George Mason person, whoever you use, is happy to provide financial information because they may get a buyer out of it. You may not get anything out of it, But they may get a buyer because that for sale by owner needs somebody to pre-qualify themselves. So have that current financial, and the reason that's so important, in that financial information, the most important thing on it is what? What's the most important thing that they see on that financial information sheet? Monthly payment. Yeah, your name, Esther's name and phone number. Monthly payment. Because they may be in a $785,000 house that they don't in any way think they can afford, but they see $2,400 in mortgage payment, and they go, honey, we're paying $2,800 in rent.
Right.
We can afford a $785,000 house. How can that be? Well, let me get you with the lender and blah blah blah. But the point is that can be a person coming in on a sign that doesn't think they can afford it. They see that, and even if they don't buy it and it's too much for them, they're going to stick with it a little bit longer because they see that they could in fact do that. So. Next part of this is you need to make that house your home. You need to make that house their home. So what I recommend that you do is that you have basically an open house kit in your trunk. And that open house kit is an archived file box. This is the way I did it. 2 cookie sheets, little wicker basket, napkins, styrofoam cups, right? Cinnamon apple potpourri, stirrers, and some things for the kids that I didn't have to think about. It was in my trunk. And I would go to the store after church. I'd go in, I'd get the Pillsbury, it used to be tubes, now it comes in tubs or whatever, and I'm not sure it comes in a lot easier ways now. But then I'd cut my little quarters out of the tubes, and I'd make my 2 dozen chocolate chip cookies or oatmeal raisin cookies or whatever. I'd put a little water on the stove. Now, make sure you get the seller's permission to do all this, by the way, because they may be allergic to cinnamon apple potpourri or whatever, but put that on there. So when people walk through the door, and literally I've had people walk through the door and go, is this house open? Yeah, it's open. Oh, okay, it just smells so good. It's got cookies and whatever. And but the point being is, one, that if you've got that, and the reason it's styrofoam cups is the other thing I would buy is apple cider. And in the summer, it was cold, and in the winter it was hot. I mean, it was just simple. It was a no-brainer. It just, I got the tube, I got the cider, put it in, got to the house 15 minutes early, got it all set up. The point being is that the cider, especially if there are kids with them and stuff, they're going to stop and have a cookie, have something to drink, and you get a chance to kind of build rapport, gain credibility, show people you care. They just stay long enough that you get something from them that even if that $9,000 goes out the door, you know how to reach back out to them. They haven't totally lost the chance to do that business. We talked about, being 15 minutes early, the signs up. I think that's really important. I mean, how many times do you get there and there are people already waiting at the door? I mean, maybe 15 minutes isn't early enough for you guys. I don't know. You do that on your own. Bottom line is you've spent hours now preparing. Don't blow it now. Be prepared for anybody that might come in. Get them to sign in. Ask them questions. You guys know this stuff. This is as important safety-wise as it is doing the right things. Let people lead you. You follow them, right? Don't go into a bedroom by yourself and have them follow you in. 1, because it makes the room smaller. 2, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you can't get out. All right. So, but you need to be with them. And another thing, I don't know if this happens up here, but a lot of people ask their lenders to sit with them at open houses, or I want to, get with people. Shadow, can I come with you and sit at the open house and watch how you do it? It's great to have another person there, especially if it's crazy. You can't kind of follow everybody, so you kind of stand on the stair steps. Hey, how's it going up there? What's going on down here? Did you get the drugs out of the medicine cabinet yet? Okay, good. Don't. Why are you looking in that jewelry box? That kind of thing. But the point being is, let them lead and let them ask the questions. And when they ask you a question, how do you respond to the question? With another question. With another question. Or a open question. So that they are making the conversation, and you're not just being an information giver. And hopefully by the end of the time, you can have some sense of, isn't it true that people walk into open houses, there's still people that walk into open houses and think that you're going to lock the door behind them and not let them out until they write the contract. I mean, they come in like that. They're just loaded for bear. I don't think you're going to be able to force me into, doing this and doing that. We've all heard the funny stories. one of my favorite stories about open houses was it was Christmas time, and one of my agents was going to a Christmas party and had a white wool, real kind of wool, is it just very, very sheer kind of wool, pleated, all the pleats, right? And her Christmas sweater and everything. And she was doing this open house, and she was going to this Christmas open house she wanted to go to, and she didn't want the pleats to get wrinkled. So she took her skirt off. She had a slip on and everything. She took her skirt off and put it on the chair because she had the property deadbolted, and they couldn't get in without. Well, somehow they came in through the back door. Anyway, she ended up hearing somebody come in, and so she actually went out into the backyard and hid behind a bush while they were going through. And finally, she had to say, when the woman came out, she said, "Would you hand me that skirt?" So because she wanted to make sure it looked okay when she got it. But anyway, crazy things have happened. But the point being is, you don't want to let them get away just because they don't like this house. And that's where your preparation has come in, your previewing has come in, the package that you're going to give them. You're going to show them that you really know what's out there and what could be the right house for them. And then finally, if you've done your job right, been able to get the sign up, gotten permission to call them, then the next part is so important, the personal contact after the open house. You'll know, you all do know, that somebody comes in, they're here for just a few days and they're going to buy something. Well, you don't want to wait till Monday to call them back. How can I help you right now? There are other people that are just starting, or they're neighbors or whatever, and so you can just send them a note and follow up. But the whole key to it is having a system in place that so when everybody comes in, you know how you're going to get back in touch with them, and you know when you're going to get back in touch with them again, and you're going to ask permission to get them on your system. And at the end of the day, going back to the very beginning, why are you holding the open house? You can take all these information and gear it toward that. One of the things that I think is really important is if you've decided that you're in the business and you've decided that you've been in a certain price range, and you're trying to up the ante, you want to get to the next price range, then I think once a month you should be holding an open house in that price range. That should just be part of your business plan. That a year from now, I want to be at this average sales price versus now. And one of the ways I'm going to do it is I'm going to start holding open house at this price range, and I'm going to, for 2 weeks of every month, I'm going to prospect for that price range. The other 2 weeks, I'm going to be dealing with the stuff that God's given me right now. But for 2 weeks, I'm going to really focus so that a year from now, I can be in a different place. Probably my favorite example of this, and I'll close with this. Angela Mitchell, who some of you know, out in the Ruston-Herndon area, she started at in the Oakton office of Long & Foster. Brand new agent, had a pretty successful business career, brand new agent. She made the decision she was going to do 3 things. And the 3 things were she was going to preview every single house in Oakton. She was going to do floor time as much as she could get. And she was going to hold open houses 3 out of every 4 Sundays. And she built her business around those 3 things. She finally got to the place where she previewed everything in Oakton, the Oakton zip code, or the high school maybe. I forget how she did it, determined. And then she did a genius thing. She started doing open houses in that area, and she had seen everything. And then she took it even one step farther. She started once a week, or maybe it was twice a month in the Connection or the Vienna Times or whatever it was. She had an ad that said, "Are you looking to buy a house in Oakton? Call me, I've seen them all." And she honestly had seen every house, and she just ran that. And then she took that and she ended up, getting into geographic farming, and she basically did the same concept. She started holding the open house and previewing everything. And so when she came to work for me, she'd had a child. They decided they wanted to have more kids. She did, some sort of fertility situation. Triplets, right? She was bedridden at the Fairfax Hospital because she just needed to be, and she had told me, she said, "Michael, when these triplets come, I'm just going to have to, needless to say, I'm going to have to kind of slow things down a little bit." And I said, "I totally get that, for sure." And then she goes in the hospital. She could not turn her business off. It was like the faucet was wide open because the way she had done it, she ended up, this is a true story, she ended up creating an office in the hospital room. She had agents that would go show property, and people would come and write contracts in the hospital room. Because they, no, we got to work with you. Because you've seen them all. I mean, she really had that sort of aspect. Now, that took a long time, but the point being is, if you target yourself and focus yourself and show people that you know what you're doing, right? And that you really care about them and want what's best for them, then at the end of the day, they're going to want to work with you. And they're not only going to want to work with you, but they're going to want their friends to work with you. And that's when the business really gets fun. Because now, not only are you not having to find the next buyer or seller, but they are finding you, and they've already been told you're awesome. You don't even have to tell them. They just say, I got to work with you. Another person example, Sandy Poole, who was with Mount Vernon for years and years. And I don't, are they still around? Blaze and Sandy still around? Well, I can remember when she had a $495 agent fee or administrative fee that she wouldn't work with you until you'd written $495. And they said, well, nobody else does that. I said, well, that, you know, but I do. And she had so many people refer to that, people would pay it because, oh, well, we were told we had to work with you. So, you know, the way you set your business up, it can be done, you know, so many different ways. But at the end of the day, the thing I would leave with you is be who you are, care for the people that you come in contact with, and have a system for showing them how to do it. Appreciate your time very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Oh, one last thing. This is the back, and obviously it's dated, but this just gives you an example of what I was talking about, how to prospect. If you want to really delve yourself into a geographic area or a price range, this is just one example of what 90 days would look like in doing it. All right, so I just put that on there just to give you an idea. Some of you may not get to this till October anyway, so just use this when you get to October.